All right, we're live. Uh, well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's great to have you on here, and I'm excited to talk a little bit more about building teams with you. For those who are tuning in, Chris is an Army veteran turned marketing executive who now applies that background to helping leaders and agencies as a coach. He's founder of Dynamic Agency OS and really tries to help agencies build teams that prioritize strategy over tactics. And that was kind of what hooked me initially. And I'm like, okay, I want to dig into this. So I'm just going to get right into it. What are would you say are the key areas that agencies miss the boat when it comes to building their teams?
So I got a handful of them. I think the first one is you need to go into team building as building, not assembling. It's very different running an agency than running a different company, right? And so you don't have the margins to be able to support some of these like high-end hires, like the people who you would pay, six figures to come in and just know the job, handle it, like crush it. You can bring those people in, but when you have a 20% margin on your agency, like that person is going to go to a SaaS company or somewhere with a 90+% margin that can pay them way more money, and it's just a drop in the bucket for them. Yeah. Like, so there's just less discussion for that. And so, and granted, there's all these different things we could get into them, like incentivize them in different ways, right? Like not every A player wants money as their primary thing. I've met plenty of A players that work at agencies. If you can find those guys, awesome. But instead, if you could find someone at 60K, right now you could potentially find two people at 60K. And if you have the right system set up to build them, you can train people up way faster. You can make sure they don't come in with any bad habits, anything like that. They're coming in and you're like, hey, this is how we do things. These are here are the results we've been able to produce. This is the process to recreate that result. Like, go forth, do good things. And now you got twice the capacity. So you got two hires in, for a lower rate, and you're able to kind of play with that. And so the metaphor I like using is like, don't go looking for the Avengers, look for the Mickey Mouse Club, right? Like, you want people with good character. They have the potential to be able to do these things, and you can build them up, right? Everybody knows the Avengers, but everyone also knows the names from like the Mickey Mouse Club, right? Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Justin Timberlake, like they all became household names.
Yeah.
And it's because
wasn't Ryan Gosling part of that too?
Yeah, Ryan Gosling. That was a surprising one for me when I looked this up. But yeah, and so I think first that has to be like the priority, right? Build, don't assemble. If you get fortunate enough, I guess, for like an A player to kind of fall in your lap, like awesome. But character hires with people with potential who you can get in the door earlier helps them too, because especially if they're just starting like their career in marketing or as a designer or anything, and you get to bring them in here, train them, get them so many reps so fast, like you're helping their career as well. And so now, yeah, they might leave in 2 years, 3 years, which like average turnover for an agency is like 30% annually. And so if you could keep someone longer because they're committed to you because you've now given them this opportunity to learn and develop really fast, like that's a huge win for everybody.
Yeah. You're not having to retrain the next person all over again and have that sort of sunk cost of waiting till they're up to speed. Like you do that once at the beginning and then you can benefit from it over time. Honestly, yeah, it's a good almost kind of retention play, which if you're an agency, your business is your people. So retention is, I think, a lot more important than a lot of agencies sometimes treat it. Like sometimes they will almost kind of grind their team into the ground, and that's why the turnover is often as high as it is. But if you can approach it with a little more preparation and structure, I can see how that would be just much more effective in the long run.
Right. It's actually interesting. I literally just got off recording a podcast with Matt Bolian of Supered. He was a co-founder of Rev Partners. But he kind of framed things of like the purpose of a service-based business is to provide experiences, right? Like, and when you look at like the food industry or something, right? People who are going to McDonald's are going to be way different than the people who are going to some high-end, Michelin star restaurant. And it's not because of the food. Like, it's not just because they need to eat. It's because the experience is different. And so within your teams, if you're not giving your team the best experience that they can have, they're probably not going to be able to deliver that experience to the clients that's actually causing clients to stay with you. And so now employee churn and employee like unhappiness is contributing
dissatisfaction or something.
Yeah, is now contributing to your clients leaving. And so like, obviously we don't want that. But yeah, and it's like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of agencies avoid building the team is just out of laziness. Like there is a lot of effort required up front, like you just said, where like you got to build out the system. You got to be able to look at every part of your business and make sure you got a plan for it. Why is this important? Is this something that I need to be teaching the team? And it takes a lot of effort to like make that happen. Once you have it, like you're cruising. Like maintaining it's easy, and you have essentially an asset that you can be using sell it to other agencies or something, right? Like there's so much you can do with that. Partnerships, there's tons of opportunity.
I mean, it seems like there's a lot of people who could be coming to this, it's like they've already made some hires, but it's like there's still hires that maybe are in their future. How do you coach folks where it's like, well, I like what you're saying, but I've already started. Do I need to, approach this differently because I haven't done that with some of my team and I want to do it with some of them?
Yeah. So I would say you need to get your team involved in building the onboarding system. So like, hey guys, we didn't have this system when you came on board, right? It was probably a struggle for you. What could we be doing, to make this better so that the next hire has everything that you didn't? And the real goal, like, I'm sure there are some people who are going to be like, well, I didn't have that. So like, like the generational, right? Like, well, we didn't have cell phones when I was a kid. But the idea is you're going to be at capacity as my senior team member as a copywriter, right? At some point you're going to hit capacity and you're going to need someone to help you. Do you want someone helping you who like you have to check every single thing they do? Or do you want someone who's coming in and they get it? They see your processes. They see how you deliver this great work and they can just do that now because this is helping you. At the same time, it's helping the business. It's helping that individual. It's like there's no reason not to do this except the not having time. That comes up as the excuse all the time. But you do have time. You just got to manage it a little differently.
Yeah. What do you think are like the key pillars of like your overall hiring strategy?
Yeah. So I don't know that I've ever thought of them as like pillars, but I got like 3 big points that I would make. The first is I believe in an order of hiring. And this is going to change a little bit per agency, but the concept kind of stays the same. So we want to flow in more, better, new. And so that's kind of the pattern that we're going to do for everything. And so at the start, like, let's go back to like your solo shop, right? Just single owner operator. Then first hire you want to make is someone who can let you do more of what you're doing because you are that like pivotal piece within the business, right? So you might bring in a VA, you might bring in someone to just free you up from some tasks to really let you do, what you're doing. The next one for better is we want to bring in a hire that is able to take our most value producing tasks and deliver on that. So now we get to do the thing that's providing the most value to our clients. We get to do that even better because we have more people on it. We have more innovative thinking. We can make it better. Then finally, you're looking at new, which is where's our weakness? And so we can fill that gap with something that we can't do right now. And then once you have those 3, you now restart. All right, first we're going to go to more. What's the hire that lets the team now do more of what we're already doing? Then how do we do it better? How do we find someone new? And you just kind of keep repeating that cycle until you get to the point where it's like, okay, now individual hires don't make sense, right? Let's look at what is the constraint of the business. is like, are we kind of, falling behind on the more, better, or new section? And then you hire to kind of fill those gaps. But for the initial hires, it's like that flow is kind of where it is. And you can run that same thing on like your marketing campaigns, right? Like don't go do something new until you've actually proven out and you got data that shows this doesn't work and you haven't tried to optimize it to make it better. Doing things more means you get a lot more insights, you get a lot more information to know, is this working? And if it is, then we can know, or if it's not, then we can do better, right? We actually know, what do we need to focus on in order to make this work? Then let's do something new. And so I think that pattern is super valuable for within the hiring process.
That makes a lot of sense.
I think so. Point 2 would be character first. And so, and we kind of touched this on the last question, but I really believe that if you can hire the right people, they're going to figure it out. It doesn't matter if you have the best processes in your company, if you have some gaps in certain skills, like the right people are going to say, I need to do this in order to accomplish my mission, my job, right? Like however they want to view it. And they're just going to go do it. They're going to figure it out. And that comes down to figuring out who, like the right character for that person's coming in. That's hard to do when you're in, a Zoom call for doing like an interview and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so what I recommend is hitting these 2 critical questions so every person is constantly asking, am I safe and do I matter? Right? We have our reptile brain is just constantly going, because back in the caveman days, you're always looking for that saber-toothed tiger, right? Am I safe? Like, who knows? And then the do I matter is like, I need my tribe, because if there is a saber-toothed tiger, I'm not taking it alone. And so I need these guys with me. And so we're constantly thinking those things. And so when you go into an interview, you're not going to be able to like get all of these like super, kind of, I don't want to say vulnerable, but like you're not getting the most open answers that you could from someone unless they feel safe and like they matter. And so my approach to doing interviews has always been, let's go in and first, to make you feel safe, like, hey, this is going to be an easy conversation. I'm not going to grill you with questions, right? Like, I just want to make sure that you're a good fit. I'm a good fit for you. And the do I matter piece kind of plays into that as well, where it's like, while I'm looking to interview you, make sure you're the best fit for our company. Like, if we're not the best for you, you need to be able to call that out. You should be asking me questions, all of these things. And so I've had people who I'm interviewing who, like, they come in, right? Their hands are shaking and they're just like, you can tell.
Yeah.
They're nervous. And by the end, they're feeling good. And like, they thank me for the interview. And like, I've not hired probably a majority of them, but like for a lot of them, I'm connected with them on LinkedIn and they come to me for like career advice and we just chat. And it's not because I'm super knowledgeable or like this huge name that they want to stay in touch with. It's just because I made them feel safe and like they matter. And for a little bit, like that meant a lot to them. They're in a stressful situation, looking for a new job. And through that, we're able to get kind of more, a more like, I don't know, just open dialogue for to see if they were a good fit or if we were a good fit. And so,
yeah, it's more of like instead of it being like a power dynamic, it's more of like a peer dynamic.
Right. Yeah. And the more often you can speak to someone on that level, I think the more valuable those conversations are going to be.
For sure.
And then last point, number 3, is just always be hiring. Look, if the right person shows up and they can provide value to your business, why would you not hire them? Right? Like, unless you really have like a capacity issue or something that's like a blocker. If the right person walks up and says, I'm looking for a job, I can bring you this. It's like, yes, come, let's go do that. We like that.
I appreciate that. I mean, I guess related to all this, like, yes, bringing on new people, but I know that with AI kind of becoming more and more common, I think a lot of agencies and companies in general are asking themselves, well, like, are we making mistakes by staffing too much? Could we supplement that, and save money by using AI? What are your thoughts on kind of that? I don't know, the pending intersection of agencies and AI and all that.
It's like the pending doom.
Right.
So I call it the AI agency paradox, where you need AI to stay competitive, right? Like no agency without AI is going to be able to keep up with everybody else. But at the same time, when you have this over reliance on AI, now you're replaceable because some in-house marketer, it could be an intern, right? If they get the right prompt, they can produce the same assets that you're producing. And so what you really need to lean into as an agency is the strategy that you're able to provide. Where most with a brand, right? They see a problem once. Like if I don't know, we're using StreamYard. If I work at StreamYard, I get to work on one brand. If there's a problem or I want to make a tweak on the website, I can do one thing at a time because I don't want to interfere with other tests. An agency, you might have 5 or 10 different clients you're working with like this month that you get to test all those things and see it all. And so you get to develop this like pattern recognition super fast. And so you have to be deliberate and like intentional about learning these things, but like you can see it way faster than anybody else. And so with AI, like we don't want to just look at how do we use AI to like 10x our output. So we really want to 10x our outcomes. So what tasks can we like prioritize in using AI in order for us to be able to actually deliver more of that strategy and expertise that our clients are coming to us for? Because they might know what they need, right? If I want to do better on for SEO, I need to write more blog content. Okay, but it's not just writing blog content, right? There's a why to it. There's a what are we actually doing with this content? How are we doing it? And that's what they're coming to you for, because you get to provide these insights and shortcut, give them the shortcut to, having to do all this research for themselves and having to go just talk to a bunch of other people. It's like, no, you can provide it all at once. So when it comes to like, I would not view AI any differently within like your hiring process or anything. I think if you're going to start reducing cost just to have use AI tools to kind of replace people, I think you're probably missing the mark, where you can only reduce costs so much, but you can always increase your revenue, right? There's no shortage of clients that you can potentially get out there. And so I think at some point you're going to bump into a problem where you only have, 5 people on your team. And yeah, you were serving the same number of clients before. What happens when one of those people gets sick or someone does leave and stuff? Now you can't actually deliver. Wouldn't it make more sense to just keep growing your agency, bring more people on to expand your capacity? And now everyone's able to actually do more. And so your one hire is actually worth 5 hires rather than saying this AI is worth me getting rid of 5 hires.
Yeah, thinking of it more of like AI as an amplifier of what we're already doing rather than a replacement.
Yeah, an amplifier is a great way to put it. I've called it a force multiplier. Where when I was in the Army, one of my jobs as a company executive officer, and at that point, so I was my specific unit had a bunch of like amenities and all these other like tools that some units don't get. And so like I had a sniper team, I had a mortar section, right? I had our comms with our field artillery guys, we had helicopters, and I got to control all of these things at once while my company commander, so executive officer is like the right-hand man to the commander, but while the commander's leading the troops and doing everything else, I had all of these other pieces and elements that I could use to like dramatically influence the mission, right? Like a sniper can reach out and touch someone from a mile away. And like that could be like a critical piece to getting a unit into a certain area. Or same thing, dropping mortars to provide cover fire for another unit that's moving through an area that has great visibility for the enemy. And so there's a bunch of different things that you can do. Now, I'm not providing like a ton of firepower myself, but I'm multiplying the capabilities of our team by being able to lean on, those skills and that experience. And so AI is essentially that. It's giving you the ability to multiply your effectiveness as long as you're using it correctly.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, like basically focusing on strategy is really important. You also mentioned kind of hiring these like kind of Mickey Mouse Club sort of team. do you think of it in terms of like you're setting the strategy and then you're hiring these maybe more junior folks, and you're saying, here is the strategy, or is there a certain approach that you would take to kind of help them think more strategically when it comes to like solving client problems and things like that? Because I could see that being a tension where it's like maybe the more experienced the higher, the more they can naturally handle like the strategic thinking side of things. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So first, hire early and hire fast. So like when you think you're going to need someone, you can bring them in, because then that plays into this next piece where everyone needs their own kind of growth plan within the company. The number of people I've talked to that don't have a growth plan, like no one in the company has ever sat down with them and said, hey, here's how I think we can develop you to be able to move on to the next thing. I can probably count on a single hand. When you have like an agency owner, right, is going to understand the strategy probably better because they created that agency, because they know something. They have a special way of doing things that they want to be able to bring to market. Like they believe like this is different, this is a better way. So that's why I'm building a company around it. That's normally what happens. When you bring in that junior hire, you can't expect them to have everything in your head. And so it very much becomes you need to shadow me, right? Like learn all these processes, get your feet wet. And through that, have like milestones and kind of check marks that you can literally go down a list and be like, have you ever delivered one of these? Like, can you show me a result that you've been able to produce through this? And you keep giving them these opportunities to be able to do that while working with someone who's more senior in the company who understands the strategy piece. So the goal is to get them into that strategy seat as fast as you can. Everyone in the company can be a project manager. Everyone can do marketing work as well. So no matter what you need, right, you can actually slot someone into that. I don't think until you're probably over, 12 team members, that's just rough number, do you actually need to start bringing in like potential project managers who are just project managing, who have some marketing knowledge, have some strategic insights, and can just like lead a team of doers. I think any smaller than that, like everyone should be doing both jobs. I should be able to lead a client and deliver the work for that client. Now we're cutting out the middleman, right? You're going directly with the people who are doing the work. So when you go into a client call and you're reviewing everything, it's like, I can make these changes right now. We can move very fast. But so, yeah, I would say, that a new hire isn't going to have that strategic knowledge, but you need to get them there as fast as possible. And so how you do that is through having a great onboarding experience, making sure you're hiring the right people, who have the character that says, I'm going to figure this out. You give me a task, I'm going to go do what I need to make it happen. I think those will set you up quite a bit better.
Awesome. Well, I had another question that came to mind. We didn't talk about this ahead of time, but I was just thinking about, we mentioned the actual like kind of interview process and kind of almost like making that a little more relaxed, and kind of level. Any thoughts on like, kind of one step earlier in the process, like when you're trying to write job postings, things like that for, to really attract the right sort of person? Do you have any thoughts around approaching that?
Yeah. So I have a lot of thoughts. Let's
bring it on.
Okay. So first, in a job posting, I think putting the criteria that would disqualify someone is almost more important than qualifying someone. And so having who this is not a great fit for, right, somewhere towards the top of your job posting can be super valuable in filtering out all the people who can just say, oh, you're right, that's not for me. It also gives you the chance to now provide some more like character building, like within that, right, to show off your company and, hey, like we're not looking for this, because people, especially when you're looking like positive versus negative, people are going to look at that positive side and be drawn to it. Like, we're looking for someone like this, right? It's like, well, I could be that, right? Versus like, we do not want someone who does this. It's like, oh, well, that is me. Like, okay, right? It's just much easier. It filters it out, makes it easier for you to go through those. Within the job posting, it should be very focused on give the individual as much information to be able to make a decision as humanly possible. If you can get the pay in there, do the pay. If you have to put a range, put a range, right? Put all the benefits, all the actual tasks that they will be doing, line everything up. then this kind of goes into like a pro tip for what you should do after. If someone is hired, we create a doc. I call it a growth canvas, where it has your role, responsibilities, right? Who do you report to? It has everything listed in this one document. And at the bottom of it, you're just going to paste the job posting, the exact one that they came in for. So now everybody's clear, like, this is what we said you were coming in to do a job for, right? And then we still like outline all the responsibilities, because every quarter we're going to go back and look at this and say, okay, we need to tweak these things. Like, maybe we have some new initiatives and we want you leading it. So let's include that in your responsibilities. And like, let's make sure it's documented so you can get credit for it later, right? Like, we're all clear that this is what we're working on and you're owning these things. But then in the job listing below, as their position changes and you start realizing, actually, we need someone like this, you're going to keep tweaking that job posting, and you can be doing it with that hire. So now the next time you need to make a hire, you just go copy that job posting and now push that one instead of the old one, right? And so now you have something very up to date that is more in line with what you need, and you're not just going to bring someone in and be like, well, we also need this. It's like, well, no, we know we want someone exactly like Shelly. And so let me go open Shelly's growth canvas, go down there, grab that, paste it, boom, we got a job listing out there. Yeah, I think that's
it's more of a living document.
Yep.
Rather than just like we need to hire, let's go, get somebody on HR to kind of, scrape the internet for a boilerplate by thing. Yeah, that's super interesting. Well, sorry, go ahead.
The number of applications that I've gotten from like Indeed, and I'm just like, oh God, this is painful. Like, it's like, no, I'm going to make sure we're disqualifying people very early, and that we're getting hyper clear on who we want by having this living document, right? It'll save you a lot of pain.
Yeah. Well, I know, like, too, a lot of the somebody was telling me this recently, that the because when you are getting unemployment, the states usually require you to apply for a certain number of jobs. There's a lot of times where people, like, they're just getting their their 3 applications out of the way, even if they're not a good fit for something, and then the companies just kind of have to filter through a bunch of people who really aren't interested in the job. They're just kind of doing it to meet a quota.
Yeah.
So hopefully those sort of like disqualifier things can help cut down on that volume that's coming in.
Right. That's system issue. I'll let the government figure it out.
Well, this was awesome. For the people who really want to dig in more, who want to maybe talk with you more directly, what's the best way for folks to kind of go further with you?
Sure. Just start a DM or something with me here on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place to chat with me. I did just launch a little email mini course for anyone, 5 biggest mistakes that I see agencies having and just how to fix them, which you can find. I got a link in my profile. You can find it there.
Awesome. Well, thanks a bunch for coming on the show. It's been great chatting, and I know there's been multiple people who've tuned in, so I'm excited to see their feedback. So thanks again.
Awesome. Me too. Yeah, thanks for having me. Awesome. See you.